They bought a house at a cheap price without knowing the terror waiting inside. The film opens by showing a series of post-mortem photographs, a tradition that was once popular hundreds of years ago. We also briefly see someone slicing human flesh, with blood splattered everywhere. The scene then shifts to the present day, where a woman named Sarah Campbell is being interviewed. The interviewer asks how all of this could have happened, and Sarah begins telling her story. The story flashes back to the past, specifically June 19, 1987. Sarah is driving her critically ill son, Matt, home after a routine hospital checkup. During the trip, Sarah keeps praying that Matt's cancer treatment will be successful. Unfortunately, Matt's condition is very weak. They have to stop frequently by the side of the road because Matt keeps vomiting throughout the long journey.
Something's pulling them from the other side. I was talking to God.
Whatever, just don't look, Mom, okay? I'm all right.
When they arrive home, Sarah immediately tells her husband Peter that Matt has been vomiting repeatedly and that she is exhausted from watching her son suffer like this. It turns out that the trip from their house to the hospital takes 8 hours, especially with Matt having to stop so often to vomit. Because of this, Sarah suggests that they move closer to the city. Peter is hesitant at first because their financial situation is difficult. He worries that they won't be able to afford living in Connecticut. However, after seeing how exhausted his wife is and how sick his son has become, he finally agrees. On their next trip, the doctor tells Sarah that Matt's treatment will be extremely demanding. However, Matt meets all the requirements, making it their only and best chance. While Matt is undergoing treatment, Sarah begins looking for a new house.
We're gonna make it through this, right?
That's good.
She looks at many places, but most of them are either too expensive or not suitable. Eventually, she finds a large house with a rental sign outside. Sarah asks about the price, and because the owner looks frustrated, he even offers the first month for free if they move in as soon as possible. He immediately invites Sarah to look around the house. Sarah instantly falls in love with the place because it is big, spacious, and seems perfect. On the other hand, she is also puzzled by how cheap the rent is. The homeowner eventually explains that the house has a bit of history, or a past story. Sarah later tells Peter that she has found a good house, but Peter refuses because he feels that there is something strange about it. After Matt's treatment is finished, they head home together. However, Matt's condition gets even worse. He can barely sit upright because of the pain.
They said you'd have body aches, but no nausea.
Seeing her son like this, Sarah can no longer bear it. She immediately turns the car around and goes back to the rental house they had seen earlier. In the end, she makes up her mind. She decides to rent the house to avoid the long journey that has been torturing her son. Not long after moving in, Matt tries watching TV, but he quickly gets bored and turns it off. At that moment, we see a faint shadow standing in the distance. In the middle of the night, Matt suddenly wakes up. He hears strange noises coming from upstairs, but he tries to ignore them, assuming they are just his imagination. He goes to the bathroom and washes his face, but the sounds do not stop. Curious, he decides to check them out. Matt slowly goes down to the basement and finds a glass door that looks strange and frightening. Just as he tries to look inside, Matt suddenly wakes up, realizing it was only a dream. The next morning, Sarah brings Matt to the kitchen and tells him that he can choose a bedroom before the rest of the family arrives. While preparing the rooms, Sarah finds several post-mortem photographs hidden inside the old furniture in the house. Seeing these death photos, Sarah shudders and quickly throws them all into the trash. Meanwhile, Matt starts exploring the house and eventually chooses the basement as his bedroom.
Matt, did you find a bedroom?
It's the meds. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Down here?
The reason is simple. There is a bathroom inside, so if he vomits, no one has to hear it. In the basement, there is also a glass door that leads to another room, but the door is locked. Not long after that, Peter arrives with the rest of the family, Matt's younger brother Billy and their 2 cousins, Wendy and Mary. Wendy is then shown a bedroom with a very large wardrobe. When they open the wardrobe door without realizing it, a figure can be seen standing in the reflection of the wardrobe mirror. That night, Matt is in the basement while his mother is mopping the same floor nearby. Suddenly, Matt sees what looks like blood being spread across the floor, but when he blinks and looks again, he realizes it is only water.
Are you okay?
A short while later, Matt takes some plates from the shelf and places them on the table. However, when he reaches for a spoon, the plates he just set down are suddenly back on the shelf. He asks his mother if she moved them, but Sarah says she did not. Not long after that, the plates suddenly fall and shatter behind Matt. Sarah immediately apologizes for making Matt help out, but Matt insists that it was not his fault. Sarah starts to worry and asks whether Matt has begun seeing strange things in the house, but Matt tells her that everything is fine. He does not dare to admit the truth because the doctors have warned that if Matt starts having hallucinations, he will not be allowed to continue his treatment.
Are you all right?
Why'd you put the plates back?
What?
Later that night, Matt is awakened again by strange sounds coming from behind the glass door. This time, he sees a bearded man and a young boy inside the room. The man is carving symbols into a corpse while the boy watches silently. The man then takes a sharp tool and cuts the corpse's eyelids. At that exact moment, Matt wakes up again in his bed. Still confused and terrified, Matt walks toward the mysterious door. When he tries to grab the handle, his hand feels as if it is burning, leaving a large wound on his palm. Matt hides all the disturbances he experiences, the voices, the shadows, and the hallucinations. Because of this, he is still considered suitable to proceed with the second stage of his treatment. After returning from the hospital, Sarah walks Matt to the front of the door and then leaves to get the key. As Matt leans his hand against a pillar, it suddenly softens, causing his hand to sink into it as the pillar turns into something resembling rotting flesh. However, as soon as he calls out to his mother, the pillar returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. The following night, Matt wakes up after hearing the mysterious door open. He slowly gets up and enters the room. The next morning, Billy goes down to the basement to look for Matt and finds his older brother inside the room behind the glass door, which previously could not be opened. Matt lifts Billy onto an examination table and spins him around while joking. Suddenly, Matt has a vision of an empty coffin filled with sandbags. The table spins faster and faster, but Matt quickly snaps out of it and stops before anything terrible happens. Not long after that, Peter comes down and is shocked to see various surgical instruments scattered around the room. That is when he realizes that the house used to be a funeral home, which explains why the rent was so cheap. Peter confronts Sarah for hiding such a serious fact, but Sarah explains that she had no other choice at the time. What mattered most was that Matt could be closer to the hospital. She also argues that the house seems fine, so there's no need to worry.
When the hell did you know it, Jesus?
You know what? And it just seemed perfect. And you're right, I should have told you.
Right, but I'm not now.
During dinner, Peter tells the entire family that even though the house was once used for funerals, it is now just an ordinary place to live. He then asks everyone to hold hands and pray together. Strangely, while they are praying, Matt has another vision. He sees a boy named Jonah sitting at the same table with the bearded man and several others, all holding hands. Jonah's body appears to convulse, as if he is involved in some kind of disturbing ritual. Throughout the vision, Matt looks extremely tense. His family begins to worry, but Sarah explains that it is probably just a side effect of Matt's treatment. The next day at the hospital, Matt meets another patient named Nicholas, who turns out to be an elderly priest. Matt tells him about his visions, but Nicholas advises him not to inform the hospital staff. If the hospital finds out that Matt is experiencing hallucinations, he could be removed from the treatment program. Nicholas then gives Matt his phone number and tells him to call anytime.
You were dreaming and breathing heavy.
Things, like hear things, they can't be there.
Ever want to talk?
Meanwhile, their younger cousin Mary is playing with her doll. Behind her, wrinkled hands engraved with strange symbols can be seen, but Mary does not notice them. Later, while playing hide and seek with his siblings and cousins, Matt starts having visions again. He sees Jonah being scolded and forced into an autopsy room by the bearded man. Matt follows them into the room filled with corpses, and suddenly the door behind him slams shut. He freezes in terror as he realizes the room is now filled with moving bodies. Several corpses with symbols carved into their flesh rise up and surround him. Fortunately, Matt's family arrives just in time.
Wendy!
The horrifying figures vanish instantly, leading the family to believe that Matt was only hallucinating. Shortly after that, Matt meets with the priest Nicholas and asks him about his visions. Nicholas gives him brief advice about life after death and suggests that Matt try to find out what the spirit actually wants. That night, while Matt is doing sit-up exercises, a figure with a burned body suddenly appears in front of him, as if trying to convey a message. Later, when the family returns home that evening, they find Matt shirtless, clawing at the wall with his fingers. Sarah and Peter immediately take Matt to see a doctor, but the doctor says that his behavior is not related to his illness or the treatment. Hearing this only adds to the family's stress, and they begin to feel overwhelmed as Matt's condition continues to worsen. One day, while both parents are away, the other children ask Wendy to play hide and seek with them. Wendy agrees, and they all run off to find hiding places. Billy climbs into the dumbwaiter, a small service lift, while Mary hides in the attic. Suddenly, Billy sees the burned figure appear behind him. Panicking, he tries to get out, but the door gets stuck. Fortunately, Wendy shows up just in time and helps him. Moments later, they hear Mary screaming from the attic. They rush over and find Mary's leg trapped in a broken section of the attic floor. Matt then peers into the hole, and beneath the floorboards, he discovers photographs and strange objects that seem to have been deliberately hidden. Both Matt and Wendy begin examining what they have found. Matt opens a box filled with bizarre items that he does not even recognize, then looks at the photographs and is shocked to see the boy who has been appearing in his visions. In one of the photos, Jonah can be seen expelling a strange substance from his mouth. Matt finally confesses to Wendy that he has been seeing that boy since the very first day they moved into the house. Hearing this, Wendy becomes convinced that the house is haunted and decides to investigate its history and former owner. She goes to the local library and discovers that the funeral home was once run by a man named Ramsey Aikman, the terrifying bearded man who keeps appearing in Matt's visions. Ramsey used to conduct psychic research on his clients. Jonah was his assistant, but he was not an ordinary child. He was a medium, someone capable of acting as a conduit to communicate with the dead. Ramsey exploited Jonah to conduct regular spirit summoning sessions, drawing people from many different countries who came to contact their deceased loved ones. Ramsey even discovered a way to amplify these summonings, causing various entities to appear, including a mysterious substance known as ectoplasm. Ectoplasm is a strange substance resembling a liquid or white mass that emerges from the medium's body, coming from the mouth, ears, nose, eyes, and even the lower parts of the body. It turns out that all of these spirit summoning rituals took place in the same house now occupied by the Campbell family. The sessions were extremely popular and attracted many well-known researchers. However, during one summoning, Ramsey and 4 others suddenly died at the same time, and the cause was never explained. Jonah disappeared and was never found. 30 years later, in the 1950s, when the government expanded a state highway, the project cut through a local cemetery. As the graves were exhumed for relocation, workers discovered empty coffins filled with sandbags, indicating that the bodies had been stolen years earlier. Matt suspects that Ramsey or Jonah may have been involved. After that, Matt and Wendy call in the priest Nicholas to examine the items they found. Nicholas is shocked and explains that the strange objects in the box are human eyelids. He theorizes that Ramsey practiced necromancy, a form of dark magic that uses parts of dead bodies, such as eyelids, to control spirits. He also enhanced Jonah's abilities in the same way and likely bound the spirits to strengthen his summoning rituals. Nicholas explains that these rituals violated and desecrated the bodies of the dead. He then asks the teenagers to pray for the victims who died in the house.
Human eyelids. Control of the dead via relics of their bodies. Perhaps it will help if we prayed.
However, as soon as they hold hands, Matt is suddenly thrown into Jonah's world, right at the moment of the final summoning. Jonah begins to tremble violently in front of Ramsey, and then releases ectoplasm from his mouth. Suddenly, the ectoplasm ignites on its own, setting everything ablaze and destroying the entire room. At the same time, Sarah returns home and immediately panics when she sees a stranger holding Matt's hand. Nicholas tries to explain that the house is filled with spirits, but Sarah becomes angry and forces him to leave. Before going, he manages to give her his business card. That night, strange things begin happening again. Wendy's room is suddenly filled with bats, and she sees the burned figure once more. Meanwhile, Sarah sees a corpse with symbols carved into its body. Shortly after, every electrical outlet in the house starts sparking, and household appliances turn on and off by themselves. Whispering voices of spirits echo throughout the house, terrifying the entire family. Eventually, Sarah gives in and decides to call Nicholas back. Upon arriving, Nicholas immediately acts quickly, using a sacred magnet to locate Jonah's remains. He goes down to the mortuary room in the basement and realizes that Jonah had been trapped and died inside the cremation furnace. When Nicholas attempts to retrieve Jonah's remains, the house seems to awaken as if it has a soul of its own. Doors and windows slam shut on their own, bats fly everywhere, and dark energy fills the space. At the same time, Jonah's spirit begins approaching Matt, who is lying in bed with his mother. Nicholas manages to open the back of the furnace and pull out Jonah's remains, then wraps them in cloth. Even though it is difficult to move due to Jonah's force resisting him, Nicholas pushes himself to leave the house. The moment he crosses the boundary of the house, Jonah's figure immediately disappears. The priest then leaves, carrying Jonah's ashes. Meanwhile, Matt briefly sees Jonah's spirit one last time through the basement window before falling asleep.
Matt be all right now?
Yeah, it will pass within a day or two at the most. The house is quiet and at peace.
Thank you.
That night, the family feels calmer, believing everything is finally over. However, they are wrong. In the basement, Matt wakes up in a horrifying condition. His entire body is covered with symbols carved by Ramsey. Sarah rushes downstairs in shock and immediately takes Matt to the hospital. Elsewhere, as Nicholas is driving home, he suddenly sees Jonah sitting in the backseat of his car. He panics and nearly crashes, but fortunately manages to regain control. At the same time, Matt and Nicholas experience the same vision. They see Jonah during the final summoning ritual. Jonah releases ectoplasm. There's a bright light, and in an instant, everyone is burned alive except Jonah himself. A dying Ramsey warns Matt to escape the house immediately, fearing that the evil spirits inside will take his life. Unfortunately, all the doors and windows suddenly shut on their own, trapping Jonah inside. Jonah enters a room through the dumbwaiter while trying to escape. Unknowingly, he ends up inside the furnace. The evil spirits lock the door, and Jonah is cremated alive. When the vision ends, Nicholas realizes he has made a terrible mistake. He immediately calls the house to warn them that Jonah is not an evil spirit, but the call goes straight to voicemail. Nicholas explains that all the spirits whose bodies were abused by Ramsey are still trapped inside the house, and now they want to harm the family living there. Jonah was actually trying to protect them and free the lost souls. However, because Jonah has been removed from the house, the spirits are now unleashed and far more dangerous. Nicholas urgently warns them to leave the house immediately. Back at the house, Wendy is suddenly attacked by spirits while she is in the bathroom, choking her. but she narrowly survives.
You must get out now!
He was trying to free them, and I removed him.
Meanwhile, at the hospital, the doctor delivers devastating news. Matt's cancer treatment has shown no results at all, and that night may be his last. Heartbroken by the news, his parents go to Matt's room and are shocked to discover that he has escaped from the hospital. Back at the house, strong winds blow as Wendy steps outside to collect the laundry. At the same moment, she sees Matt walking home carrying an axe, his gaze looking as if he is possessed. Panicking, Wendy quickly shuts the door, but Matt manages to break in. He chases Wendy into the living room and slams the wall, revealing carved corpses hidden behind it. Matt then drags his siblings and Wendy out of the house, locks all the doors and stacks furniture as barricades to keep the doors from opening. After that, Matt continues smashing other walls, one by one, revealing even more bodies that Ramsey had hidden for years. Corpses fall out in large numbers. Matt continues his actions, destroying every part of the house filled with its dark secrets. He then pours flammable liquid over the bodies and the walls and sets them on fire. The photographs and human eyelid fragments are also thrown into the flames. Soon, Matt is surrounded by the spirits of those whose bodies were abused by Ramsey. Realizing he may die, he kneels and screams at the top of his lungs. Outside, Matt's parents, Nicholas, and rescue teams have arrived at the scene. Hearing Matt's screams, Peter tries to break in, but is restrained by the police. Sarah manages to slip in through the side of the house and finds Matt lying unconscious. She drags him to a corner of the room, desperately trying to wake him. Eventually, the tortured souls begin to break free and disappear one by one. Firefighters break through the walls and rescue both of them. Paramedics work to save Matt while Sarah cries and prays. On the brink of death, Matt experiences a vision of being in a cemetery. There, he sees Jonah, no longer burned. Matt almost follows Jonah, but he hears his mother calling him, and suddenly Matt comes back to life. As Matt opens his eyes, Nicholas is able to see Jonah's spirit one last time before it peacefully fades away. The family gathers around Matt, who survives.
Be careful. Let me wake up. Come on, honey.
The film then returns to the present. In the interview, Sarah explains that Matt's cancer has completely disappeared and that he is now living a healthy life. Their house has been renovated and sold with no further reports of disturbances, and the story comes to an end.